We create an environment of chaos and noise and try to create confusion and do things so that we have to communicate and that our guys can get ready to practice in it. That was what Kirby Smart was talking about playing at Auburn. Create an environment of chaos and noise. He said that playing at Auburn is a very difficult thing. One of the things that he talked about when we were there Monday is that it's just difficult to play on the road in the SEC. He said it's an intense, crazy environment. Night games are more so than day games in terms of that atmosphere that's created, but we practice that. He wanted to say, we'll have to go out and execute. I don't know what increases from game 1 to game 2, talking about when he was asked about playing on the road the second time. He said, I think you've got a lot of freshmen that now may not have had as much anxiety because they've done it once. There's certainly more anxiety the first time you do it, but it's not like that goes away. You have to be confident and know your plan and execute your plan. The only way to do that is practice. I mean, I don't know how many times I say these sorts of things, but the biggest thing that you can do to be prepared for moments is be pressured in practice in a significant way. And that's something that Georgia has done for a long time under Kirby Smart. And there will be significant pressure at Auburn. I mean, Georgia's loss to Alabama means that every single game Georgia plays from here on out is going to be a meaningful game. It doesn't mean it will be a terminal game. It just means it's going to be a really important moment in the season. I think these next 2 games are about as important as it gets in this season. You've got to go on the road to Auburn. And I'm going to get into that in a second. And you got to host what will certainly be a top 4, if not top 3, Ole Miss team. And so the pivotal moment of the season is here. And I think that's the part you've got to remember if you're the Dawg. Here's the good news. If you perform the way you're supposed to, it won't be the last pivotal moment of the season. I mean, the Alabama game was important. It was never going to be the left or right decision-making game in the year. I mean, there's too many other games. They had already beaten Tennessee. It was an important time. Really more just because it's a straight up big game. But it was not a decision. It was for Alabama. I mean, they pretty much had to win that game. They probably have to win at Missouri this week. I'm not sure if they will. I'm not sure if they'll win the rest of their games. They got LSU and Auburn and Oklahoma. I can't remember Tennessee. I mean, if Alabama goes 11-1, winning 11 straight games, they will deserve to be probably the number 1 team in the country. And let's just see if they do that. They'll certainly play in Atlanta because they would be undefeated in the SEC. But these are long seasons, and Bama will have to do what Georgia's doing this week, which is in order to do what I said a second ago, which is go to Auburn and win. And that's not such an easy thing. That's one of the hardest things to do is go to Auburn and win. Our friends at Sales Hatch are going to help you with some of the hardest things. One of the hardest things to do in business is get connected to the right person. Sales Hatch is going to do that for you. They're going to get your foot in the door where you want to get your foot in the door. Let them do the hard work for you. Business owners and sales leaders need to get the foot in the door. Let Sales Hatch do that part. It's the hard part. They'll handle the cold calling, the email campaigns, the direct mail, everything needed to consistently put their partners, you, in front of new prospects, the right people. Not wasting your time. The goal is simple. Let Sales Hatch deliver 3 to 4 new qualified meetings each week so that you can focus on closing deals. This is a Roswell-based company. This is not outsourced. It's not even outsourced outside the state. So Sales Hatch is going to do all of the heavy lifting for you, and you can come in and close. You come in and get the job done. Are the Dogs going to get the job done this week? I think they will. You're looking at a 3.5 point line. Our friends at BetQL are saying that all the sharp money, not all, but almost 70% of the sharp money is on Georgia. When lines open and they open higher and then they drop down, the question is always, well, should it really be at 4.5? Like Alabama, at Missouri, they were a 6.5 point favorite or 5.5, whatever it was. That line keeps falling. So we'll see where we're at with that thing as time goes on. But I think, if Georgia goes out and executes and basically plays like it has this season, Georgia's played 5 games. The hard part to realize about this game is we will be halfway through the season when Georgia and Auburn conclude their game. We will be halfway through the season, six games through the season. And it's like the year takes forever to get here, and then it is on fast forward when they start playing. That's why the offseason is so important. I mean, it's just critically important to do all of the heavy lifting in the offseason, like literally with lifting, literally, but with everything that you do in your program. That's why it's so important to get ready for these moments. Kirby's saying, we create an environment of chaos and noise and try to create confusion and do things so that we have to communicate, and that so our guys get to practice in it. So when you go to Auburn, so a few things. So Saturday Auburn will be retiring Cam Newton's number 2 jersey. There's not a lot of retired jerseys at Auburn. Pat Dye Field. You got Pat Sullivan, Bo Jackson. I think there's one other one. So but now you'll have you'll have Cam, who's been up on their scoreboard for a long time. So that will create some momentum, but that won't last forever. And that's fine. It might be done at the half, which is kind of an irrelevant moment in the game. So the game will have already played and started. Auburn does about as good a job as anybody of getting hyped up at the start of the game. It is a very challenging place to play because they create probably more noise per capita than anybody in the league. They do a great job. I mean, probably LSU, but unlike Tennessee, there's no piped in. There's not speakers around the field and all that stuff like you have at Tennessee. At Auburn, it's just straight up loud. The Georgia will come to the field almost single file. So you're coming out of a very tight locker room situation on pavement that will break way to grass through their hedges, and then onto a field that is low to the ground. Like the stands are, you can walk onto the field no problem at Auburn. So it's very tight in the end zones. On the side, it gets very wide. So what Auburn does is a great job of handling the atmosphere. I've seen it through the years. I think this is the game I've seen played more than any other game that Georgia's played, because I missed a Tech Georgia game in 2001, and Georgia and Auburn doubled up, and it was because they doubled up, because I missed Auburn in 98. They doubled up in 17. So I've seen Georgia Auburn so much, and these two teams and programs used to be carbon copies of one another. They were very similar with the style of play, the kids that went there, in terms, the football players. They were very similar. It's like playing your brother. That is not the case as much as it used to be, sort of in the last 15 years since Mark Richt's, later years at Georgia, and really when Georgia took hold of the rivalry in a real big way. Georgia has zoomed away from Auburn. I don't think there's much confusion about that. The last 25 years, Georgia has dominated this rivalry in a way that Auburn controlled the rivalry in the 90s and the 80s and to some part of the 70s. But they had the lead on Georgia coming into this thing, and Georgia's passed them. Even though Auburn won a national championship, and they won the SEC in 2004. They won the SEC and the national championship in 2010. They won the SEC in 2013. I mean, Auburn has had some good times this century, but the valleys have been pretty rough. I don't think we're in a valley with Auburn, but if Georgia were to win this game, which Georgia should win this game. It's not 100% that they win this game, but when you're a 3.5 point favorite on the road, you are the better team. If they were to win this game, Auburn would be 0-3 in league play. They had a game certainly stolen from them with Oklahoma, but it would be there would be then at that stage a real question mark about Hugh Freeze and his future at Auburn. Is this working, essentially? But I will, remind you that in 23, Auburn played their probably best or second best game of the season against Georgia. They played out Alabama outstanding that year too. So in 19 they nearly came back and tied that game late with Bo Nix. In 17 they absolutely destroyed Georgia at Jordan-Hare. So it is definitely not an easy place to play, but Georgia's ranked. They are favored to win this game. They've been the better program. A win or loss in this game will not change that of the two teams and programs. Can Georgia handle what they're getting into with an Auburn team that has struggled to score, but those games have been on the road? Can they handle an Auburn team that's really very good rushing the quarterback? Not great throwing it. But they're very good at stopping the run and then rushing the quarterback. So, Georgia's offensive line, that might be not an unbelievable matchup for them, but you just got to do it against Auburn. Like, there's no workaround. There's no fancy business. You have to just get the job done. And that was the quote to me that when we were sitting there Monday that Kirby was talking about. We create an environment of chaos and noise and try to create confusion and do things that we have to communicate so that our guys can get practice in it. It's very loud at Auburn in a way that is more authentic than Tennessee. Is that a better way of putting it? But noise is noise, and once you can't hear, you can't hear. You have to control things on the road non-verbally. The other thing I would say is this about this game. If Georgia gets down like they did against Tennessee, that's going to make it even that much harder to win. They showed how to do it a week ago against a wounded Kentucky team. I think Auburn's wounded right now. They're not playing in Athens. You're playing at night at Auburn. Someone was asking Kirby, I think Charles Odom asked Kirby if he'd ever played or coached there at night. He played at night there in '98 in a quasi-rain game where Georgia just sort of handled business against a not great Auburn team in '98. I don't know how many times he's coached at night. Georgia just traditionally not played at Auburn at night. If I'm just going off the top of my head here, but in '94, I believe that was a night game when Georgia tied them. '96 was afternoon. '98 was at night. 2000 was actually at night where Georgia narrowly lost that game 26-23. '02 was day. '04 was day. '06 was most assuredly day at noon. Shout out Matthew Stafford. At 8 was at noon. I don't know how we had a back-to-back Jefferson Pilot situation, but we did. 10 was CBS, and then 12 was at night. 13 was during the day, CBS, prayer at Jordan-Hare. And then 15 was a noon game. 17 was a CBS game. 19 CBS, 21 CBS, and then 23 CBS. So you've had way more 3:30 games because this is a classic and true rivalry. When we talk about rivalries with Georgia, people want to put teams that are not actually Georgia's rivals in there with them. This is a rivalry, this game. This will be the 130th time they've played this game. And this game matters a lot. Georgia's going to have to figure out how to handle the stress of playing at Auburn, one of the toughest places for them to play that they play. Now, is it one of the most difficult places to play in America? It seems like it to me, but particularly for Georgia, at Auburn is a tough one, and they'll have to be ready to go. Thanks for watching.